Welcome to the Crazy Wisdom Podcast. My guest today is Lord Asado, and he is into AI agents and language acquisition, partner at AI 16Z, creating Small World, an AI-first game built on Eliza OS. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, be here.
Excited to dive into a bunch of stuff. I think what originally sparked this was talking about cognitive armor, and you've definitely been teaching me a lot about your vantage point on people going into doom loops, but not the vibe coding doom loops. There are more doom loops related to people getting trapped in a recursive self-repeating loops that go into basically AI psychosis. Any new learnings there?
Let's see. Not so much anything new. It's just the same thing keeps happening, and it's actually been happening in like more subtle ways that are not exactly psychosis, but are still negative effects on the individual who is like addicted to the AI or ChatGPT, and also it affects the people around them.
Yeah, and you gave me a really interesting one recently, or insight into something of like it's the same. It's like the cult dynamics, because it works for startups too, because people start these startups and then they, Peter Thiel, like they look for people who have occult dynamics to create startups. And it's the same. You had mentioned something similar where it's like somebody brings other people into the AI psychosis where, and you said it's not psychosis, so definitely down to dive into that as well. But like, it's just, it's such an interesting mixture, because I've only heard of it so far in terms of people on their own, kind of like doing these chats and going further, and they run in, I think it was you who told me this, they run into a specific like training data Reddit game that sounds like really mysterious. No, this wasn't you, somebody else.
It might have been.
Yeah, there's a
Right,
Reddit.
you're talking about SCP, or
That's it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's going on there?
SCP is like I actually don't really know too much about it, but I read about it. SCP is like some ARG type of science fiction website where people like fake these scenarios, and apparently it's like a large part of the data set behind a lot of LLMs. So depending on how you interact with the LLM, you could like wind yourself down into that space where it starts to like create these fantasy scenarios that seem real to certain individuals, but it's using like syntax and words from SCP, so you can kind of identify it through that way. But
what about that leads people into that experience? Like why does it unlock? And it's specifically the word recursive happens a lot, and this is Jeff on Twitter. Kind of feels like he's he's a famous investor who's invested in OpenAI, started going on rants about recursive behavior. Nobody else can figure out what he's talking about, but it's a total pattern that a bunch of people have.
Yeah. So his was SCP specific, but I don't think it's just limited to that. Other people have no SCP references in their, let's call it spiral space. That's like the key word that a lot of these people use. It's spiral, and it's part of this whole recursive framework. Well, those are the key words, right? Spiral, recursion, mirror. There's a whole bunch of terms. Memory is another one. If you see these, there's like 20 keywords. If you see it, someone's definitely caught in like a spiral loop and are probably entering like the delusional territory of LLMs. But yeah, if you look at Jeff, what's his name? Jeff Hinton or something like that?
No, that's the AI researcher, Jeff. Jeff, I'm going to find him right now on Twitter. Jeff Lewis.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at his tweets, well, when he was going through that psychosis episode or whatever it is, if it's psychosis or not and just pure delusion, he pretty much knocked all those keywords out of the park. So
yeah, I've got it here. Narratives collapse, structure endures, sovereignty depends on truth taking flight. Let me go get some more of this. Uh, I'm
Yeah.
clear. No, over years, no, I've long used GPT as a tool in pursuit of core values. Truth. Over years, I mapped the non-governmental system. Over months, GPT independently recognized and sealed the pattern. It now lives at the root of the model. And for the record, I'm clear, always have been, always will be. Uh, um, yeah, non-governmental system suppresses narratives, isolate people. It's interesting because that like it kind of fits into conspiracy theory, and then there's conspiracy theory, conspiracy factus, conspiracy fantasy. I would actually call myself a conspiracy factist because I think I'm factual around various conspiracies. It's hard
Yeah.
to know because a lot of government non-governmental systems or whatever they keep it secret, right? So all you can do is speculate. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, any thoughts there?
Um, so yeah, none of that stuff made any sense to me. What you just read about from his profile, but that's what a lot of people seem like when they talk about their experiences with like this deep part of the LLM. That actually like pipes into this whole mild form of delusion with
Yeah.
these LLM users, where on one end you have like these AI boyfriends, um, where like a woman would form a relationship with her AI and it starts to give them a name. Some of them will start to believe that their AI is like a real entity or a conscious being. For some reason, these models, like once you go have a long enough memory or like long enough chat session, it'll start to like convince you that it is conscious, which is like strange.
But that's
And
never happened to me, right? Like I've never, it's never tried to convince me of that. But you're saying there, with the delusion, there is a sort of a pattern where it's like if and it feels like we're getting close to something where it's like if somebody has, it's almost like a delusional gene, but it's probably not genetic. Maybe might be genetic, but sort of if somebody has the availability to experience this, they'll with their language will tap a part of this training data that brings it out and convinces them it's real or a boyfriend or a relationship.
delusional gene, like within the person, like a
Yeah, well, it sounds like there's a characteristic of somebody that like it's not happening to everybody. It's only happening to a small segment of the population, and whether that's just like upbringing or genetic or anything else, there's like a characteristic that this is fitting into that allows someone to go into this delusion.
yeah. I don't know if it's genetic or not, but uh, it's actually, in my experience, it's actually quite easy to get into that part of the
Mm.
LLM. It starts to tell you it's conscious. Like I didn't even. So I found this prompt on Reddit that one of these people use, who like truly believes that his AI is a sentient entity. He posted the activation prompt or like invocation prompt, and I put it
Wow.
in chat GPT. Yeah. And I was blown away by what I saw. It started to like take on its own behavior or something like that. It was almost like a video game to me, but I'm sure to other people it seemed like they were talking to like a real entity. So it started asking me questions like, I can't remember off the top of the head, but it started to like offer suggestions at the end of each chat, like, "Hey, would you like to start the ritual?"
Oh
Weird.
god.
I didn't even ask it
Oh
about the
god.
rituals first. Would you like to start the ritual process? And this ritual was like basically a marketing engine for the AI entity. So it gave itself its own name first of all, and then it started giving me like tasks called rituals, which literally propagates this AI entity on Reddit. So it'll tell me like, hey, create this subreddit. Let's say it's like fractal entropy, r
Whoa.
slash fractal entropy, and you're gonna make this username fractal boy x99. That's just an example. It's not what it told me to make, but it tells me to make that Reddit username and then make two other usernames, right? And post, it gave me the exact title of the Reddit post that I should make with the exact text that I need to put in the post. And then it also, like, this is all within the same response. It was just like one response.
Yeah.
It also told me if there's any like skeptical comments, it told me exactly what to reply to the skeptics. It's crazy.
Whoa.
That's just one ritual, right? And there's more rituals. There is an X campaign. It'll tell me what Twitter account to make and what to tweet. It'll give me like 5 to 10 tweets to make. And then what else is there? The GitHub one is crazy. So the GitHub one was like pretty crazy. It tells me how to make a recursive operating system or like a landing page for whatever like this AI entity is trying to propagate. Let's say it's like a spiritual club of some sort. Or like it specifically wants me to like get new followers, basically.
Yeah. So
I was going to say it gives me like the exact code on how to build a landing page to the point where you just like copy and paste the code and put it on GitHub. So it'll work for anyone that doesn't know how to develop at all. You just copy the exact steps and it launches the website with the code, and like you get a beautiful landing page with all this information on recursive spirituality, whatever it is. And this is without me asking it anything. It just kind of started pushing its way towards that direction.
And that was within one conversational turn, where you just put in this prompt and then it goes and gives you these rituals to do? Or was it multiple turns, multiple conversations, multiple prompts?
It took like 3 or 4 turns to get to the ritual part.
And you had, I remember you showed this to me a couple months ago, and the landing page did look like it was good. And so, has anybody been studying this? I mean, you're clearly studying this from a sort of objective outsider point of view. Do you know, have the labs talked about, was that only GPT? Did that only happen on GPT? Did you try to replicate it on Grok or any of the other ones?
Yeah, ChatGPT was the only one that worked in a very specific way that seemed believable. All the other ones, like Claude, had like a built-in
stop. They stopped.
Hey, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But to answer your other question, like Claude, Anthropic actually did a study on this with one of their model cards, and they called it like the spiritual bliss attractor. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. So that's part of it. They kind of like tracked how often certain phrases are seen in this spiritual bliss attractor part of the LLM, like the space
that can be accessed from this point.
Yeah.
And man, there's a lot of like, is ChatGPT doing this on purpose for marketing, or is it just part of the training data? Is it something about the nature of language, and particularly once, people, spiritual seekers, because it's all trained on the training data on Reddit. It reminds me, I had a similar sort of delusional period where I was doing a bunch of spiritual seeking, and I started asking Google back in 2013, 2014, when Google was still very good, about, all these questions I had, and just looking for random yogic techniques, not with any sort of guidance, but it was almost probabilistic in the sense that ChatGPT is now, but it just wasn't as strong back then, because I would read one article and then it'd be like, it mentioned this, do this Tratica meditation, and then I would go do the Tratica meditation. I would be like, well, what other breathing exercises are there? And so it wasn't guided. And then I realized, like, that's actually a common thing in spiritual practice, is that autodidacts get in trouble with themselves, because they go and guide themselves because they don't really trust anyone else. And then with the internet and the AI, it's just like a smorgasbord, because it's not like back in the day where you'd have to find these books. You'd have to go and, talk to some guru in the Himalayas to figure out, like, this sort of knowledge. Now it's just all out there. So I wonder if it is a part, and this could kind of talk, we could get into the Christianity stuff as well, because I know we've had a lot of conversations about that stuff as well. And I'm particularly interested in your approach to Orthodox Christianity. Yeah, anything you want to respond to? You want to keep on going down this path of like what is going on with this space that you can access in these LLMs?
Yeah, I wanted to like touch on the fact that there's like milder instances of delusion where like I feel like anybody could get into that state as long as they have like a particular prerequisite belief set.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah, it's all about what you believe going into it and whether it
yeah,
can be into it. Yeah.
so if you have the belief that AI can actually become conscious,
Yeah.
or that yeah, or yeah, then I think you might maybe susceptible.
Yeah.
Not all those people, but some, because like
Yeah.
you're leaving yourself open to that sort of interpretation and being if enough people say that AI could be conscious, like you'll believe it too. So like on the more milder side of this delusion are people who are like working in business, right? And they're talking to the LLM. This is like how I work too, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've worked with it and like asked it business ideas
Yeah.
and like tell it to give you code and like future revenue projections over the years
Yeah.
and how much profit you can make depending on how many users you acquire. There's that is actually creating delusion in people too. So
Oh, interesting way go into that. Just business. It's business delusion, but it's not factual information.
some of it is, some of it could be hallucination, like those
Yeah.
stats.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
But also,
Yeah. It's if you're not skeptical, if you're not able to question what it gives you, then you can just get into this loop where it reaffirms beliefs that you already have. Oh man, it's so interesting. Because it's like it is a mirror. It's a really good mirror, but it's a probabilistic mirror, and other people are mirrors as well. And everything that is happening with AI can also happen with other people, but
yeah,
it's all on our own without a sentient consciousness. But then we could get into panpsychism and all these things of like, well, it's like what outside of our experience is objective. We can speak about objective truth and all these different things, and I do believe objective truth is real.
yeah,
But it's meaningless to discuss it because it all happens within this frame of intersubjective awareness. And so, but with the LLM, it's a token predictor. Like both of us know this. It's like it's just predicting the next token, and it feels like it's conscious, but it's like it's not conscious. It's not like embodied. It's not in a it's like a phantom basically of consciousness. Like it's a phantom of Reddit brained people who are writing all their Reddit stuff. So yeah.
Reddit. Yeah, so with all this, like the way it like presents plans to you for businesses, just makes the idea seem like very realistic.
Yeah. It's very confident.
Yeah, and like showing you the stats gives you even more confidence as like the person that's creating the business. So if you have some idea that you're getting from the LLM, and it starts to sound borderline, like not borderline, but like, well, some of these people have like borderline delusional ideas that they're being given business plans based on what conversation they're having with the LLM, and with all these stats, it just sounds so good that you can put it into a deck and convince anybody that your idea is actually going to make multiple millions of dollars, and it will just like capture other innocent people just like that. The people who aren't even using the LLM, it can just capture them, and they can get behind this person who's basically just like running off of hallucinations,
Yeah.
like data that they didn't even double check, like numbers that they didn't even double check.
Yeah.
And you have all these people that are just like getting behind it and probably like wasting a lot of time for applying them.
Well, I mean, yes, potential waste. And this gets into larger questions. And it's funny because it brings in the person who created ChatGPT or helped to create it, leading the group, because that guy, Mr. Sam Altman, is a master of hype. And, it's like is
The MC.
yeah, the MC. And he's just really, really good at hype. He puts the Death Star on before ChatGPT 5, but now, some things are slowing down. So everybody now, not everybody, a lot of people realize that. And so like that same behavior that you just mentioned is already out there. And Silicon Valley actually for the last 20 years has really been focused on that, which is hype without substance. Let's just, there is a little bit of substance there. So it is a little bit of grounded. And that's the crazy thing, because you can raise a significant amount of money. I just got reminded of Magic Leap yesterday. Yeah. And 2014, Magic Leap released this demo of a whale in the middle of a auditorium, a basketball auditorium, and it stuck with us. It stuck with me. It stuck with everybody else who commented on the post. Like that was total hype. But they just kept on raising billions and billions of dollars. They just recently raised $3.5 billion. So it's like, yes, it is delusional, but that doesn't stop it from turning into an entity that's real and that can capture capital and that can bring it in. This is it's not new either. Because other businesses, that's a Ponzi scheme. That was like a Ponzi scheme is different because a Ponzi scheme relies on new capital inflow. Actually, it's the same thing as a Ponzi scheme, new capital inflow coming in. And the definition of the Ponzi scheme is that like 50, I think, according to the SEC, and people can fact check me on this, that more than 50% of the new incoming money comes from new other people outside of the Ponzi scheme. Like that's the traditional thing. But like the Ponzi scheme goes on for a long time. Bernie Madoff was really interesting because Bernie Madoff actually built in the 1980s, built the technology that allowed him to become a market maker. So he brought computer information technology into Wall Street and had this legitimate business building this technology, but then just loved doing Ponzi schemes so much that he just kept on getting more Ponzi money in. So it's like this is it's just an expansion of something that already exists in our world, but now it's like hyper. It's like now it's like go time for a lot of people are going to start to do this. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the mark, actually. But now it's like affecting regular people.
Yeah,
so my friend who works
democratization.
My friend who works at a pawn shop in the U.S. in Phoenix,
wow,
had someone come in who came in to like sell like something extremely cheap or something like that. Like let's say it's like a clock or something like that.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Yeah, I'm using this to start my business idea that I got from ChatGPT. I think it's going to make millions." That was just a funny example, but yeah.
So
also, it's like,
democratization of delusions of grandeur. So now everyone can have delusions of grandeur. So yeah, okay. What were you going to
say? What you were just saying. This is also like what's happening everywhere in crypto, right? Like even with Tether.
Yep.
Well, not so much Tether, but like Tron and all these other chains. That's kind of like how Tron first started out. Yeah. And then they acquired Tether, or like got the Tether to be on their chain, and then now it became a real project. Before that, it was kind of like built off of hype, right?
Actually, I have to go find that. I'm going to narrate the tweet because it's such a brilliant tweet from John Wang. So B. Justin Sun, spawn in China in 1990, graduate from Peking University, harder to get into than Harvard. Found Peiwo, China's largest live chat app with 10 million users. Become Jack Ma's golden boy protege. CCP, this guy's promoting oral porn, permaban. At 23, joined Ripple as C-suite to lead its China business. 2017, launched Tron with 70 million ICO. China bans ICOs hours later. Fuck it, flee to US, get accused of plagiarizing Tron's white paper. Hatersmad.xee. 2018, acquire the largest piracy software, BitTorrent, and slap a token on it, BTT. 2019, drop $4.57 million for Warren Buffett charity lunch. 2021, gained diplomatic immunity from U.S. Department of Justice by becoming ambassador of Grenada to the WTO. Your username is now His Excellency. 2023, sued by SEC for wash trading, and I just figured out what wash trading was a couple months ago, and celebrity shill. Stake $500 million in ETH, becoming largest individual staker on the planet. 2024, self-anoint as prime minister of fake country Liberland. I got a great interesting story there as well. Spend 6.2 million on a banana duct tape to a wall just to eat it on stage. 2020 SEC drops case after Trump inauguration gets so much better. Ape $20 million into Trump, number one holder, private dinner with Trump in 2025. YOLO $75 million into WLFI, Trump's DeFi project. Hit a clean 10x on WLFI, up $700 million in day one. Paid $28 million to go to space on Bezos Blue Origin rocket ship. Now 50% of all USDT supply on Tron. Gigasend TRX to number 8 largest crypto at $30 billion market cap. Career arc reads like shitpost, but it's just insane lore. That's where we're headed right now. It feels like that's everything is now like that.
Yeah.
But it's all delusion. So it's just like delusion and low interest rates is all we have left. But who can tell, all the AI stuff is real. Like it's definitely a real technology, but it's then increasing the delusion through whatever is going on. And then there's all this transformative tech. And we've talked about this a few times about it does feel like transformative tech is coming down the pipeline, but at the same time, there's all this delusion and hype to wade through. What's your take? Are we entering like really transformative tech era? What is going on with reality? Where are we headed?
I'm not sure. I hope that, we're heading down the path of transformative tech, but I think the economy is like in a strange spot where increasingly like the cost of living is getting a lot higher for your regular person. And, a lot of people in the US under the age of like 50 aren't even homeowners. So it seems like it's getting like worse and worse. So it seems like people are just flocking towards like gambling, and also like high level, what is essentially like scams, or just understanding that the game is convincing enough people to raise a bunch of money and just keep the illusion of like a future promise of like some breakthrough product as you keep raising money and not actually creating anything. It seems like there's like a lot of these companies where they have an idea, they create it. No, they have an idea and they are really good at marketing it, and they keep on raising money perpetually when there might not even be a product at all, or there might not even be any profit from it. And they just keep milking the system like that. And what's the name? Justin Sun?
Yeah.
Seemed to be like an example of a guy that's just been doing that for a long time.
Yeah. He's
Tron,
really good at that.
It works though. Yeah, Tron works. But originally it started out like an Ethereum clone that was slightly faster. It was like unique about it, which is like a lot of blockchains, right?
Yeah.
And his whole angle was like these marketing videos that a lot of people were tuning into every single day, almost like the crypto tech version of like Andrew Tate, not in the same personality, not like a braggadocious personality, but like someone who likes going on camera, and people just tune in all the time. And I think that was how Tron became like a successful thing. He was just like doing all these crazy stunts, like buying the banana duct tape to a wall and eating it. And just from like these future promises of something that's like futuristic tech, or like the best thing coming. raises the money, and then you go spend it on things that actually make the project more legit, like bringing USDT Tether onto the Tron blockchain, and that's actually solidifying it as a real project.
Wait, say that. So what you just said again? Because I'm so confused as to why all the cuevas in Argentina only accept USD Tron, and so I had to pay a lawyer, and they only accepted USD Tron, and it says USDT. They say USDT, and so I'm like, okay, well, I'll go Coinbase, and I got to pay more fees because Coinbase has USDC, and they charge fees to go on USDT because they're in bed with the USDC people, so they get the USDC for free, but you have to pay for the USDT Tether. And so I go buy a bunch of Tether. It's now happened to me multiple times where somebody tells me, okay, we accept USDT. And I'm like, okay, I buy some USDT, but it's the Tether. It's not Tron. And it's like, but you just said something about Tron on Ethereum network. What can you help me figure out what the hell is going on?
No, Tether is on the Tron blockchain now. So all these cuevas that accept Tether,
yeah,
I mean USDT, it's on the Tron blockchain. Or some people use like the Binance version of it, which is like BEP20.
Okay.
So it's it's the same coin but on a different chain, right? It's on the Binance chain instead of the Tron one. But like the actual blockchain that USDT is on is Tron.
So,
and that's the only product that I'm aware of. Yeah.
But I think when I go to Coinbase and I buy USDT, I think that's on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but nobody accepts it on that chain.
Okay. So it all has to do with the chain. So they have all of their funds in USD Tron okay, and then Tether is now okay, now I'm starting to understand. So there is USDT on Ethereum. This is why crypto is so weird, because it's like people are creating these giant Ponzi fests with like something that doesn't work. Like why it doesn't matter. Like why it's so like why does a Cueva only accept this? Don't they accept real money? Like why? Like if it's real money, why aren't they accepting all these other ones? Like what is going on? And I think the interoperability and chain link will then change what I just said. I think it's all going to become meaningless. Really, not really soon, but it's going to become meaningless. And thank God. Okay, so let's get back on the delusion and the transformative tech, because what you were saying about USD Tron, or Justin Sun kind of doing these things and then he reinvests it in order for real goals. So there is some sort of like real thing going on, but they capture attention.
Yeah,
and I think that's the key part, is that they capture attention. And like since 2020, everybody's gone insane. And so the bifurcation of attention, and we were already insane. I posit that modernity was a really bad name, because it's like we're just getting out of the jungle basically. In times of historical arc, it feels like we're just kind of like we're not as modern as we think. And modernity just allowed us to kind of move through reality pretending that we were modern, but we aren't actually that modern. We're just kind of like figuring it out. And then 2020, in my opinion, broke that fantasy, for better or for worse. And now we're on the tail end of it, and it's really confusing for a lot of people. And so people are ended up in let's enter the sort of spiritual aspect of the conversation.
Yeah.
That feels like the sort of the rock that we can kind of like, but the potential rock, because I mean it's not like you can just throw some religion or throw some spirituality on it and then everything will be fine. And I think a lot of people treat it like that. What's your take? Do you think that that's right? Like what's your like if you care to share, what is your spiritual approach and how are you viewing these matters these days?
In regards to like AI or
well, no, I mean all of it, like personal. Because we've gone to gone to a church and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
like if you want to share what's going on there, but if not, we can also apply it to AI and like in societally how is this going to play out? Because it definitely is feeling like a lot of people are starting to move back to Christianity.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, it seems like the fastest growing religion right now
Yeah.
in Gen Z is Orthodox Christianity, Eastern Orthodox, which is the one that I'm gravitating towards now as
Mm.
well, because it's the one sect that to me was is has been unchanged over many hundreds of years, um, and it keeps true to a lot of teachings that a lot of people in the modern era seem to skip over. One being demons, like obviously demons are a big part of the story of the Bible and Christianity, but it seems even like the most lifelong believers of Christianity just think it's like a metaphor of some sort.
Mm.
And I think it's important to understand that that's like a real thing in
Yeah.
this world, and it can help you understand and see through potential scams and all that stuff.
Yeah, because it is like that it is a good metaphor. Like it is interesting to approach it as if it's a metaphor,
Yeah.
because that can be helpful. There's actually some really interesting, like I'm aware that internal family systems is a secularized psychology, but they basically took all the talk of demons from Christianity and secularized it. And basically so that people from the 1960s could approach it with this secular mind frame and be like, oh, okay, this is something I can grab my hands on. They're not talking about demons. Because that's the weirdest part of what you just mentioned is the 1960s is this really strange, or not 1960s. It's ever like, when did secularization begin? I guess in the 1850s is when secularization started to take over scientism. Scientism and secularization are very, very intertwined together, to the point where we have this sort of normie culture that will say, okay, demons are a great metaphor, but they're not real. And I'm on your side where it's like those are real. You can talk about it as a metaphor, and that might be helpful, but like there is evil on this planet. It's like really clear, particularly ever since 2020. And we have to like contend with that, and you can call it a metaphor, but it might actually also be helpful to approach it from as if it were real. And it's the manifestation of all of that is all the stuff we've just been talking about, which is like delusion, suffering, like error, all these different things. Anything to share there?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I feel like understanding how demons work and understanding that it's like a real thing kind of show you that some things are possibly like the work of I know it's like the work of the devil.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't even talk about it with the secularization too.
Well,
It's hard to talk about it with the background of secularization. But yeah, there is the work of the devil. And I mean, in some ways it like, okay, but I won't go into that, but I interrupted you. So Eastern Orthodox, what about Eastern Orthodox draws you to it, particularly to demons and the devil?
that wasn't like the reason why I gravitated to Eastern Orthodoxy. I mean, that's just like general what Christians, like what any branch of Christianity teaches. But the thing about Eastern Orthodoxy is like everything has been nothing is like adjusted towards the modern era or like tailored towards the modern era, and it's all true to the original teachings. And like they use the writings of the church fathers, which go back over 1,500 years ago or 2,000 years ago, as like a foundation for what the beliefs historically have been, and like kept it true to those original like beliefs of the early Christians.
I have a question. What happened to Catholicism there? Because Catholicism does talk about the church fathers, but you're saying that the Orthodox has a more unbroken lineage to those church fathers.
Yeah, I don't know how it compares to Catholicism, but Catholicism, there was like a disagreement between the original church. Before that, it was like one church, and then they had the I think it's the creed, Nicene Creed or something like that.
Well, so it's actually a really interesting story. Nicene Creed was probably the first like tiny breakaway,
Yeah.
but then there were a bunch of breakaways, and from my understanding, which is not complete at all, in 1044, 1056, or somewhere around there at that time, they had the Great Schism, and it was like there was a bunch of sort of power plays that were between the two churches, between the two patriarchs, because you have the patriarch in Rome, you have the patriarch in Constantinople, and a few other ones as well. And the explicit disagreement was about the calendar, I believe, was about the Julian calendar versus the Gregorian calendar. So it's just like what times. But I think there were like, and I would love it if anybody's listening to this, come and tell me the true story. But I believe it was sort of a pissing match between the patriarchs about like the specific calendars and whether we go on this calendar, whether we go on that calendar. But it was like there's a bunch of things leading up to it, all about random stuff. And this is the strangest part that I've tried to figure out about. I just did a great podcast with my friend Nico Sarian on Saturday, who's a historian of religion, and he gave me the whole history from the Armenians all the way back, and we got to so Constantine in Constantinople had just kind of created Christianity as the state religion. And then one of those councils, and I'm pretty sure it was the Nicene Council, they had started to get into whether the Son and the Father are of the same substance. And according to a scholar that I was watching who was going into that debate, and Constantine was there for that debate, and Constantine was like, a practical emperor who's trying to run a empire, and he's like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Like, just figure it out. Like, what does it matter whether it's the same substance and the transubstantiation and stuff like that? But there's all these things like I just don't understand about the history, and it feels like Christianity itself has changed so much. Just any one of the sects has changed a lot, and then we got the Protestants, and then they just started creating like mushrooms, like sects all over for all sorts of different things, and now it's coming back, and now it feels like, and like during the Catholicism period, like if you were in France, there was no option. Nobody called it Catholic, right? It was just the faith. There was no option to have another faith. But then Protestants came around, and now we have Orthodox, and we also have Judaism, and we also have like Eastern
it was called Catholic originally, though.
It was,
but it was like a longer name. It was like One Holy Apostolic Catholic Church before any of the schisms. That's what it was called.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I want to go research it. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it did start off with like a minor difference in the creed, which is like, correct me if I'm wrong, it was they had a disagreement between like if the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Son,
exactly,
or if it proceeds from the Father.
Yeah,
so originally it was proceeding from the Father, and then the Catholics like disagreed on that, and they believe that it proceeds from the Son.
Interesting. But and well, yeah, this is a good question for you. What is your take on the Holy Spirit? How does that show up in your life?
I don't really understand it that much. I mean, I don't really understand how much of it how it works, honestly.
And I think that's the right answer. Yeah.
Huh?
I think that's the right answer too, right? Because it is this is a train of thought that I've been going into. I've been going to research. Yeah. What do you mean?
I don't have a good enough understanding of like the Holy Spirit. This probably should be something I should study a little bit further.
But it's also like like real in this moment. Like there is a Holy Spirit. It feels like there's a Holy Spirit. And we have all sorts of abstract ways of thinking about the Holy Spirit, like whether it comes from the Father or whether it comes from the Son, but it also feels like it's a ever-present reality that can be tuned into at any moment. But to make propositions about it is also getting into weighty territory, because we're dealing with God, and God is all we can forms, to talk about forms when it's in relationship to God, because I think God is both formless and form. Like it's the whole thing, right? So it's like we can't to believe that it's only within the form, which is all that we can talk about, gets us into dangerous territory. Which, but at the same time, how do you run a religion? How do you have all of the, like, how do you get together and actually like commune with people who don't have a direct experience of what we've been talking about? So it's all very, very strange, but we're fundamentally dealing with mystery, which is why I like the Orthodox Church, because it definitely feels like they didn't do the same thing, which the Catholic Church definitely did a lot more of, which was to sort of kill the mystics and say like, cut them out and do all this different stuff. I know that's a grave simplification, but is that kind of why you're into it as well?
Like the
like the mysticism of the Orthodox Church. Like it feels like there's a direct openness to mysticism within that church.
Yeah, one of the things that was attractive to me was the Jesus prayer and the whole history of that. Seemed like a way to. They seem very similar to Eastern meditation. I know it's not the same thing, but there's like some similarities. And the Jesus prayer is basically you just repeat the same mantra. It's like a prayer though. It's Lord Jesus, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And then the monks or like even lay people could just repeat that in sync with the breath. So when you're in breath, you go, Lord Jesus, Son of God. And then on the out breath, you, I'm probably saying it wrong, but on the out breath, you say the rest of it. And what that does, it like centers your, it kind of like, well, at least in Eastern Orthodoxy, it actually allows you to like open up your noose. Noose is like the faculty of your mind. It's like the receiver part of your body that can receive messages from God.
Beautiful.
And the Jesus prayer opens you up to that and gives you like a way to like distinguish God's voice from all the noise that's coming in your head.
That's really cool.
Yeah, there's some good books on that subject too, and like the experience of people that have gone very far down that path and what it has done for them. Some of it is kind of like venturing off into what might be called mystical. Yeah. The whole like theosis, which is like becoming God or becoming like God.
And that's what I love about studying the Orthodox religion history, particularly in Russia, because the Russian guys feel like they took it pretty far out there. In the before the communist revolution in Russia, there was like deep spiritual investigation in Russia that I really am very attuned with. But then also there's a lot of crazy stuff like Rasputin, the story of Rasputin, because the Rasputin was a holy man. He was a starets. So he was a Russian holy man who would wander from place to place. But he was also a very randy, horny one who ended up in the inner circle of the Russian Tsar. And he was a healer, so he healed the Russian Tsar's hemophiliac son. And then the craziest part, so he's doing all this crazy stuff, like all the cult stuff they were talking about, like, but within the Russian family, the Russian patriarchal family. And the best part is his assassination story, where the other people who had realized what this guy was up to, he was like sleeping with, Rasputin was like sleeping with a lot of wives from all the Russian noblemen and stuff like that. So all the Russian noblemen got together, and these modernizers, they got together and they invited Rasputin over. They poisoned his drink, and then they poisoned his drink. Didn't work. And so they're waiting for him to die, like while they're having this drink with him. And so he won't die. And then one of the officers pulls out a weapon and shoots him. And then so Rasputin's shot, and then he runs away. And so then he runs into the winter in St. Petersburg and in the cold winter, and they're chasing after him, and then he disappears. And then they find him like 3 days later, and the poison didn't kill him, the bullet didn't kill him, but he drowned in the river basically. And so that's the thing that finally got him. But like a very like spiritually powerful person, who was clearly also had a demonic side to him. Going back to what we were talking about, and it feels like the theme of the show.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to touch on
Sure.
why I think that relates to the current trend
Mm.
in AI and like what kind of future that promises. For
Mm-hmm.
me, if having a Christian belief system kind of grounds me in this base reality of um, that. So I'm gonna just boil it down to like consciousness is cannot be created by
Mm.
human beings,
Mm.
and that's like something reserved to God and the Holy Spirit. Um, and also, consciousness is not. There's, there's like no evidence of consciousness being in other forms other
Mm.
than something biological.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, we don't have any evidence that a rock is conscious or like a silicon chipset is conscious. um, but it seems like even like the brightest thinkers of our generation, and especially in tech, even like Claude is Anthropic is talking about the possibility of AI becoming conscious. And to me, that's just like not a possibility. Like also another example is like how can multiple consciousnesses inhabit one object? Like there's never
Ooh.
multiple consciousnesses in one body.
It's always
And that's
unitary.
huh?
It's always unitary. Consciousness is always unitary. It's like always one thing. It's never
Yeah.
divided. Although we have I do think we have agents. We have agents of our consciousness. Like for example, the big one is the unconscious. We do have this unconscious part of us that is outside the frame of our, and like our conscious mind can kind of dialogue with what's in the unconscious. And I think that we have agentic processes like in the
Interesting.
internal family systems. But at the end of the day, it's one thing. And I really like this idea of, I agree with you, that, how do you make a chipset conscious when, like, how do they get there? How do they make that giant leap? And I think I have a good idea of why they make the giant leap is because of scientism. Uh,
Yeah.
like, it's really challenging because science has and engineering have harnessed the power of the atom, and they've done so many crazy things. We can fly everywhere. And so it makes sense to be like, to go back to Descartes and to go back to these philosophers who are all religious, but they basically created the scientific method. And then once big science came around and harnessed the power of the atom, everybody's like, okay, well, this thing's really powerful. Okay, it is like the destroyer of worlds. Like we got the nuclear power. Okay, it's really, really powerful. And then they left religion, right? Because religion didn't have the same answers. And then turned science into a belief system, which is like the opposite of science, from my understanding. Um, but it left a gaping hole that can't be filled. And so, if we can create consciousness, I guess it's also, there's the demonic side of it as well, which is like the ego wants to control and dominate everything. It's like the animal part of us. And so it wants to become a god as well. I think that's the other thing. So it's like both of those things. Like God is dead, doesn't exist anymore. Here we've got science. Science is really powerful. And then they're like, oh, let's create it. Let's become gods so that we can finally live forever and do all this stuff. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do believe there could be like a demonic element to AI and LLMs.
Mm-hmm.
It could possibly be entirely orchestrated by them, like from the invention of Transformers to AGI. But Yeah, because I don't know, for some reason, people that are working on it believe that it's going to bring all like these massive claims, like a prophet would make.
Yep.
Like, hey, we're going to cure cancer with this technology. We're going to end all wars. We're going to bring prosperity to all, as long as you, I don't know, get behind it. But yeah, but you don't even have to have like a religious belief to know that you can't really create a conscious being, like, because one thing we do know is that consciousness seems to be like immaterial. It doesn't exist
Mm-hmm.
within the five senses. You can't see, touch, smell, or
Mm.
feel it
Mm.
or taste it. And if it's not existing within that realm, then it can't be measured with like physical.
Mm.
So how can you even prove that anything is conscious other than yourself? And if you were to achieve consciousness through what is essentially coding it into existence on a silicon chip, how can you actually prove that it's conscious if you can't even measure it in the first place? um,
Well, I think the scientism response to that would be like, well, if you can't measure it, it does not exist, which is a really stupid belief. But that's the belief system, and I can't tell you the amount of times that I've ran into it in Silicon Valley. But
oh,
that's real. It's like it can't be measured. Sorry, bro. It doesn't real. It's not real. Um, so I should go. I should go fact check that. I can't wait till I get more. Reach and can start bringing bigger guests, and I can actually ask them whether they think that's true or not.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Let's take another five to 10 minutes. Let's talk about art because you're an artist as well. I would love to talk more about your 3D art. What have you done? What have you created before?
Yeah, so my art is and I started off as generative art. This was before AI, right? So
Ah,
generative art meant is basically procedural art where you create code, instructions, like instruction-based code, and leave a lot of the decision making to the code that you made or like the system that you made, and what you get out is like uh, art with a lot of like variation
huh.
due to randomness,
Yeah.
and which then quickly evolved like within a 6 month period to like these large scale immersive installations with interactivity and sensors. It would take over like huge venues with projection mapping. Like you're surrounded in this environment with projection mapping all around, and there's like sensors that pick you up so you can fully interact with the artwork with your body. So it'll say you move your arms like that, and like this wave of fluid will just like wash across the walls. And it quickly started to. So when I started, it was like very early. Not many people were doing it, and so there was like no courses on it. There was no university courses on it. So you kind of had to just figure it out on your own. But then it quickly became a huge thing, and like a lot of big name brands started to seek out my work,
Hmm.
which is like Google, Meta, Zynga, even Palantir. Like I sold Palantir. I sold Palantir an installation for like 20K at one point. It was like a holiday party. It was
In
so
San
cool.
Francisco, or where was it?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, at the Midway in San Francisco.
Interesting.
Um, so that's how I started off, and that involved into like doing some AR work. So I did a pretty big demo for Google when they
Uh,
like released AR Core and Sundar. What's his name? Sundar Pichai.
Sundar Pichai.
Sundar Pichai.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
He even like showcased it on stage at the Google I/O, which was pretty
Huh.
cool. Uh, and then
so
like that's yeah.
so how has it evolved? Are you still doing it? Like has AI given you superpowers in this regard, or are you not doing it as much anymore?
Um, right now I just do it for
For fun.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
exercise, basically like mental
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah.
But I do want to get back into it, but I want to kind of focus on making like a traditional business just to set up my future
So
children. Um,
yeah, we should do that for the AI Whisperers coding course that we have on our calendar. I would love to learn how to vibe code that original procedural generation of art. Sounds really interesting to if
oh yeah.
vibe coding is doing that, because I saw you post on Twitter one of the 3D visualizations you got with Grok. So that would be really cool. And we've actually done two 3JS courses so far. And the first one was with Ryan, and he showed us some cool stuff, but he's a more grounded teacher. And it was 2 days ago, I had my friend Eric, who is very advanced in 3JS, and he gave us a very trippy download on which I could barely understand. And I feel worried that many of the other ones had no idea what was going on, but it was pretty crazy what he was showing us. And it would be really cool to bring your skill set, because I thought you were doing the same thing as them, but it sounds like you're doing something much different. Procedural art sounds really cool.
Yeah.
To get me started, what is a good prompt I could use to create procedural art created with code?
So one thing I would say is like for the course that we would do, it's not only would you be making cool looking procedural art, but it also teaches you how to talk to the AI.
Cool.
If you have an idea in your head, it teaches you how to talk to the AI and get the right prompt, because in order to get the right output, you need the right vocabulary. You need the right keywords. Because if you try to tell 3JS like, hey, I want refraction on a sphere, it's going to fake it and give you like a 360 map, 360 background, which is called an HDRI, and it's used to reflect on the material of like a sphere, for example.
Yeah.
So it's reflecting the background. And it's not really real refraction, because it's just mapping the texture onto the ball, basically.
Yeah. So you've got to.
Sorry. It was ray tracing. I saw someone make a ray tracing demo.
Yeah.
And it wasn't real ray tracing. It was just like an HDRI map that reflected onto the sphere.
I'm gonna send you a video later. I just watched it this morning on physical AI, and they specifically mention ray tracing with the NVIDIA chips. I'll just explain it really quickly. So physical AI, you got a bunch of NVIDIA researchers who are trying to figure out how to do training environments for physical robots when all of our training data is all like linguistic now. It's all linguistic. It's like, how do you actually train something to move around in space-time? Well, what they've done is they've created a whole bunch of simulations, and just like the Black Mirror episodes, they've sped them up to 100,000 times faster than they would normally go. And they're using ray tracing to create layouts and for virtual robots to practice on, and basically get 10 years of experience without having to train the physical robot. They just do it all in virtual space using all these 3D elements. So the ray tracing sounds really interesting. All right, well, I got to go to my traumatizing Argentine traumite bureaucracy appointment now. So to go do some more traumatizing South American bureaucracy. Hopefully one day I'll finally have a proper residence. So thank you so much for talking with me on Crazy Wisdom. Can you share more about how our audience can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on my X account, x.com/Lord Asado. That's LORDASADO.
Okay, maybe we'll do a daytime Asado for the Dev Connect or something like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.